cold out there, everyone, and check on those possums and birds and stuff. We'll see you there.
Like to play,
and I'll be with you the whole way, 1 to 4 p.m. And so we've got plenty to talk about today. It is so hot outside, and I can say that in a flippant manner, but on the very serious note, we have extreme heat warnings for our area. I was looking through some of the notes from our meteorologists that have come in. The last one that we got from meteorologist Caitlin Cody said extreme heat warning is now in effect for all of Chicagoland until Thursday night. Heat index is going to be around 105 to 110. So I know we have a live picture out to the beach. A lot of people are going to want to get out to the beaches over the next several days. You've got some folks who are already out there. Please enjoy yourself. Just be careful. You know, you want to take breaks when you can. Obviously, put on the sunscreen regularly. All of the things, making sure that you're hydrated. All of the things that you can to make sure that you're staying healthy. For those folks who maybe aren't in vacation mode, there are also cooling centers that are set up throughout our area. Those are easy to find, whether it be those that are set up for the city or those that are from Salvation Army, but plenty of ways that you can beat the heat and stay safe. So we're really hitting that hard this week because we don't want to see anything like what we saw, in the 95 heat wave or anything like that. We want to make sure that everyone rides this time period out safely and that we're all together when it's all said and done. Listen, a few of the conversations that we're getting into in this first hour that we have here together, we've got to talk about preeclampsia test. The state of Illinois is going to be the first in the nation to mandate coverage for preeclampsia biomarker testing. This is for all pregnancies across both Medicaid and private insurance. It's going to save a lot of lives. Going to save a lot of lives. Governor Pritzker is getting ready to sign that legislation, making us the first state in the country to do that. If you don't know, preeclampsia is the most common pregnancy complication and a leading cause of pregnancy-related death and preterm birth. And so if we can save more lives of babies and also mothers, then that is a good thing. So we'll talk more about that coming up at 1:45. We have the founder of End Preeclampsia who's going to be joining us right around that period of time. We also expect that sometime within this hour, probably in the second half of this hour, that Mayor Brandon Johnson should be speaking during that time. We don't have exact details of everything he's going to be talking about, but this is a standing press briefing, okay? So they could get into a whole lot of different things. We're going to go there live to City Hall just as soon as he steps before a mic so that we can hear what he has to say, and also the questions for our mayor that the reporters in the room will have for him today. We also anticipate that sometime within this hour we should be hearing from a House subcommittee that's going to be talking in Washington, D.C. about sanctuary policy. So this comes back here to Chicago, and this is going to be from the victims' perspectives. So if you can recall, just a couple of months ago, we so sadly lost a young lady, a Loyola student. I believe she was 18 years old, so she had just come here for school and was starting off her life in college, which is such an exciting time, and that young life was cut short. Obviously, her family is still grieving. They have been through quite a bit, and to top off a lot of different emotions that come with losing your child, comes the fact that this was an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela. And so her family has been very outspoken. They are actually going to be testifying today. Her name is Sheridan Gorman. And so we're going to try to dip into that when her family is speaking so that we can hear from them, this couple, this family that, again, has lost their world, in a sense, and losing their child. So we'll dip into that. But we are going to start our conversation conversations with a major day for the Supreme Court, the last day when they really issue big opinions. And for sure, whenever it comes to the last day, that's the day that's a live picture there to the Supreme Court. Whenever it comes to the last day, you can expect there are going to be, listen, we're getting ready for 4th of July, but the fireworks, okay? Some big decisions, and obviously if it's gotten to the Supreme Court, that means that the lower courts and people throughout the country just could not agree on it. Okay, and so one of their decisions was about transgender students in sports. The second decision was about birthright citizenship. We knew for quite some time that this was going to be a biggie. And last week, we saw some things dealing with immigration that went in President Trump's direction. This did not, okay? And we're going to bring in Hugo Balta, the publisher of the Latino News Network, to break down this ruling and where we go from here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I wanted to point to the wins for the Trump administration last week because it did kind of give the impression like, wait a minute, we know birthright citizenship is still, getting ready to be, adjudicated. And would that go in the same direction as, say, asylum seekers, TPS? And it didn't. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think the decision by the Supreme Court is more than just a legal ruling. It's a reaffirmation of a core American principle, and that is that if you're born in this country, you're a U.S. citizen. For millions of American families, that is a big win. Many families have lived under an umbrella of fear because of the Trump administration's hard stance on immigration. You mentioned TPS that happened last week. This win for these families are really going to help them to get out of the shadows. And the responsibility that we have as journalists is to cover the facts, to really explain the constitutional rights and not the political rhetoric.
And there's been quite a bit of political rhetoric surrounding all of these things. And even today, I've listened to several opinions on this and kind of looked through even what the justices said. It sounds like, Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, has kind of signaled maybe this isn't even over, that Congress could take this up.
Correct. And look, I think whether it's the Trump administration or previous and future administrations, birthright citizenship, asylum seekers, TPS in particular, it's always going to be up for debate. And that's a good thing. The Constitution is a living document that every generation, those that are in political power should continuously discuss and debate about and pivot accordingly. So it's not surprising that the conversations around birthright citizenship and TPS will continue, especially after what happened in Venezuela just days ago with the disastrous twin earthquakes. If there's ever a time to look at a community like the Venezuelan community, and whether they are in the United States or are coming to the United States, I don't see how TPS doesn't play a fact. And in regards to birthright citizenship, we've got 150 years of an American principle that's provided stability for families from across the world. Our country was founded by immigrants, and what got us here is certainly what's going to get us, what's going to pave the next 250 years.
And of course, birthright citizenship goes back to slavery. And is it interesting to you that here we are, getting ready to celebrate America's 250th, and we are still grappling with these, constitutional questions?
Look, 250 years of an experiment, and I think too often we reach these milestones and we feel like we've crossed the finish line, but we've just crossed the latest finish line. Democracy, a republic, our Constitution are things that we need to continuously work towards, fight for, and each generation is responsible for that. So the fact that we're grappling many issues that are core to the founding of our country is not a surprise. It is a reaffirmation that if we want this experiment to continue for another 250 years, we're going to have to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to really have to have discussion, but also debate about the things that define who we are as Americans. There's a lot of good that we should celebrate, and there's still a lot of work ahead. I think a lot of times many people shy away from debate because they see that as argumentative, but it's in debate that new ideas are born and innovation lives, and we need to feel comfortable at feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, it has seemed like, especially over the last decade, that people have felt like maybe fatigued from debate, like because there's so much partisanship that the rhetoric, the volume was up here, and people are like, I kind of want to lower the volume and just stay over here. But whenever we do have these, days when the Supreme Court issues their opinions, the volume goes back up because now we're getting a clearer picture as to a way forward for the country from the justices. Are you surprised by the split on this decision or even those of last week?
No, I think when we look at the makeup of the Supreme Court, it has certainly been in the last couple of years a tug of war, leaning at times to the conservative side of the Supreme Court. But you mentioned something really important that I absolutely don't want to just pass by, and that's more of the responsibility of people like you and I, journalists and newsrooms across the country. Yes, when we tap into social media, or when we look at reports, the work that we do, there's an overemphasis on political points and rhetoric. But when we start to talk to real people, and I've spent time in my role as executive editor of the Fulcrum, traveling across the country, talking to different people in red states and blue states, and certainly as publisher of the Latino News Network here in Chicago, speaking to immigrant families, when you talk to them, there's a lot more we have in common than what sets us apart. Social media and media often gives the appearance of these polar opposites, and I'm not saying that our country isn't divided on a lot of key issues, but there's a lot of issues where, yes, we might have a difference in the road to leading to those points, but as far as where we want to go, many people do agree.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you, I mean, when you mentioned, sort of looking at things from a conservative lens, there have been many conservative commentators today and politicians today who have intimated that, they feel as though this issue of birthright citizenship will leave open a window for people to feel like if my child is an American citizen, then it is harder for you to deport me. Your thoughts on that?
Look, I think whether it's birthright citizenship or any of the rights that we all enjoy as Americans and as residents of the United States, protections that are guaranteed to us by the Constitution, is there ever a situation where there will be bad actors that abuse loopholes? Of course there is. But I think to generalize that is a huge problem is untrue, is factually untrue. And it's our jobs as journalists to sift through what sometimes could be a labyrinth that's led by political quotes and talking points. The truth of the matter is that for 150 years, birthright citizenship has worked and will continue to work. The truth is that our country depends on an immigrant community. And so let's debate, let's discuss about the core issues that create the situation that millions of people are in the United States with their undocumented status, and work towards resolving those issues as opposed to zeroing in on specific issues, on minority abuses that fill newscasts, newspapers, radio. Our job is to sift through a lot of that noise and get to factual information that help people understand the discussions and debates in our country.
Hugo Balta, publisher of the Latino News Network. Great speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. It's 1:15, everyone. It's been a big day, and so we are waiting on, again, a House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing to begin. This is a setup right there in Washington, D.C. Sheridan Gorman, the young student from Loyola University whose life was cut short recently. Her family should be speaking there. We're also waiting on Mayor Brandon Johnson to speak at any point in time. Right around 1:30 is the set time. Usually doesn't begin on time, but sometime in the second half hour, we do anticipate that he should be speaking. And here it looks like it's going to be the father of Katie Abraham, who will also be speaking. Okay, so Katie Abraham was a young woman who was killed. So these are two separate incidents that gained national attention. Okay, Sheridan Gorman, I told you about from Loyola. The father of Katie Abraham has also been a very vocal part of the discussion about sanctuary city policies. His daughter was in a vehicle with a friend of hers. They are a local family from the suburbs. Katie Abraham and a good friend of hers were down in Champaign-Urbana in a vehicle, and they were hit by an undocumented immigrant who then left the state, got away. These young women lost their lives. He got out of the state. He was caught in Texas and brought back to face the criminal justice system. But Katie Abraham's family has been another family that has gone through quite a bit over the last year and has been very vocal about what they have gone through and the changes they'd like to see as a result of it to protect others. And so we do anticipate that it's not going to be just one family here from Illinois, but two families from Illinois that will be speaking at this subcommittee hearing, the House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on sanctuary policies from the victim's perspective. Again, both of those families have suffered a great deal and have been open about what they have gone through and not being happy about what they believe could have possibly prevented it. So let's take a quick break. It's 1:17 right now. When we come back, I'll go over some of the stories that are populating on our website that people are clicking on in case you want to take a look at those. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking with us. It's about 1:21 right now. I told you about some of the things that we are waiting on to begin. So we're going to talk about some of the things that are trending on our website while we wait for those press conferences and hearings to begin. I'm going to start here with Cook County assault weapon ban. That's, today has been a really big day for the Supreme Court. We talked about with our guest, Hugo Balta from the Latino News Network, one of the major cases, the birthright citizenship. I also mentioned transgender students in sports was also decided by the High Court today as well. We also got word today that the High Court is going to take up, so not a decision today, but they will be taking up this Cook County assault weapon ban. So they're going to be hearing a challenge on this. The U.S. Supreme Court saying, and this goes back to Illinois and also Connecticut. The case is set to examine whether restrictions on AR-style semi-automatic rifles violate the Second Amendment. I mean, we do see, a lot of instances in our area that go well beyond just, a death because of assault weapons that are used, or Glock switches on a weapon that turn it into a semi-automatic weapon. And so a ruling could affect similar laws in about a dozen states, major cities across the country. And we have the layout here as the Supreme Court now it will look into and consider whether bans on semi-automatic rifles, often called assault weapons, violate the Second Amendment and this expanded gun rights. We have the what we know, okay, and that is that the justices today said that they will take up this appeals, asking the court to strike down these bans on the AR-15s and similar semi-automatic firearms in Connecticut and the Chicago area. We have a little bit more information about the background there. Arguments are expected to be heard in the fall. Just so you know, again, today was the last day of major decisions for this setting. But in the fall, they will be taking this up. That's going to be really big for our state and especially for our city. Gun rights groups argue that these semi-automatic weapons, it violates the Second Amendment to ban semi-automatic rifles, which are legally owned by millions of Americans, especially in rural communities. But the Illinois ban was first passed in 1993. The Connecticut law was passed after a mass shooting in 2012. That was Sandy Hook during President Obama's time. And in other recent gun cases, the justices have upheld some gun restrictions, including a law that bars people under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns, but they have struck down others. So similar to our discussion about, birthright citizenship and the fact that TPS came up last week, there are some decisions that there are through lines to, but they're very distinct in their reasons why they made it to the Supreme Court separately. And when there is a decision on one, it's not always a window into what's going to happen with the second part. So it will be very interesting to see what they do, again, because they have had a record now. This Supreme Court, this makeup that we have right now, they have ruled in favor of the Trump administration on certain things and against the Trump administration on others. And so on this issue of gun restrictions, the Second Amendment, it's going to be very interesting to see how they fall. But again, it will be taken up in the fall. So we're still a ways away, but just a really big development that they even said today that this is indeed the appeals will come up before them in the fall. So you can be sure we're going to be talking much more about that in the days, weeks, and months ahead here at Fox Chicago. And we have more information about the full case and the background as to how we got to this point on our website, fox32chicago.com. We also have some new video that just came out today that takes us back to May, giving a little bit more transparency into a police-involved shooting that happened in Oak Park. Anytime there is, especially a police-involved shooting, people want more clarity as to the use of force spectrum and what exactly happened to lead to a loss of life, especially. And so the man who lost his life, his name was Christian Wallace, but the Oak Park police say that there was a traffic stop, and that they were in the process of patting him down. They identified a weapon. There was some type of struggle. Again, this is from their perspective, that he got away from them in the struggle, somehow got the gun back from the struggle, and that shots were then fired, and 36-year-old Christian Wallace lost his life. So we have all of that video. You can see it for yourself. Judge for yourself how you feel about it. Just a warning to you, it is graphic, okay? So just always want to throw that out there. If you want to see it, it's on our website. We have it in parts so that you can watch it, but you'll be able to see the full thing. Officials say that, yes, it contains graphic content, warning viewers that the footage may be disturbing, but it is here for you to view for yourself here. This happened on May 31st at a gas station near Harrison Street and Austin Boulevard, again in Oak Park, where this took place. So the ISP is investigating. This is the Illinois State Police Public Integrity Task Force at that, leading an independent investigation now. That is required by Illinois law for officer-involved deaths, like what we're seeing here. And they have issued, the village president issued a statement just saying, "My heart continues to be with the family and friends of Christian Wallace during this incredibly difficult time. Until now, the video was withheld so that the Public Integrity Task Force could maintain the integrity of its investigation. Today, we can take an important step toward transparency, owed to those family and friends and to the entire community with the release of the footage. Transparency and accountability are not just words for this board, they are meaningful commitments that we must act on. We will continue to be as open and responsive as this process allows for Christian, for his family, for the police officers involved, and for every person who calls Oak Park home." Again, that is coming from the village president there in Oak Park, and the police chief even issued a statement. This says that we recognize this video may be difficult to watch, as I mentioned moments ago, and it says, "Our thoughts remain with everyone affected by this incident as the independent investigation continues. We ask the community to remember that the video is one piece of evidence and that all facts must be carefully reviewed before conclusions are reached." So again, keep in mind, the video is here on our website for all to view, but it is one piece of the overall picture as to what is going to happen from here. The investigation continues on. It is an independent investigation. Again, Christian Wallace lost his life in this incident. The police officer and at least one police officer involved was also taken to the hospital. I believe may still be on medical leave, so was significantly injured at the very least in this incident as well. And so the information is here. The background is here. It's the beginning of transparency in this process, but it is not the end of the investigation that will continue on from here. But we have plenty of information here on our website for you to see and for you to read about, so that you have a better understanding of at least where we are at this point into that investigation. Let's look and see. We have another, this one has been very difficult for many of us in news here in the city, and I think throughout the country, because each and every day that we are out or in, reporting on the news of the day, you are encountering all kinds of people, sometimes on their happiest day, sometimes on the worst day of their lives, sometimes who are lucid and very communicative with you, and sometimes who lash out at you, and many different things can happen. And so we never like to think of worst case scenarios. This wouldn't be the worst case, but close to it. So 3 people have been arrested after a Chicago TV news crew was threatened near the Adler Planetarium. I don't even believe that they were reporting on a heinous incident, but they were attacked. and 3 people now arrested. It was a CBS News Chicago crew, just to be transparent. We're talking about transparency here, that was attacked there outside of the Adler Planetarium yesterday. Police said that the subjects yelled racial slurs at them, tried to have a dog attack them, damaged their property. I mean, in the pictures you can see the windshield of their TV news unit, a well-marked TV news unit that's smashed in. Very disturbing for many reasons. I mean, all of these, stories have been. Obviously, this, affects us in a different way to see another crew, because it could have been anybody, could have been any one of us. Officers arrested these 3 suspects after a chase. They recovered a rifle with them. We have more information about what we do know and what we're still waiting to gather about this particular incident. Still remains unclear why they were confronted. Why they were confronted, but it is an ongoing investigation as well. And so as we get more information about that, obviously, we'll be posting that. Just disturbing for us. I mean, we've seen instances where news crews have been attacked and things have ended much worse, to be honest. But we never like to see anything like this to begin with. And so I'm hoping that they will be okay. Obviously, attacked, you have your life, but very shaken up. Very shaken up. So, again, more information about that is on our website as well. I'll give you one more before we take a quick break here. And this goes back to a Chicago man now charged with DUI in a crash that killed 2 people in Jackson Park. And we have more information about this on our website. I mean, the pictures from the scene are just like, what happened here? This is a 24-year-old Chicago man now facing charges after this crash in Jackson Park. We told you about it yesterday, because it happened early Sunday morning, so we were just starting to get information yesterday. Police say Lance Cunningham, this is new information now that we're getting, as this investigation develops. Police say that Lance Cunningham struck another car, killing a 27-year-old driver and a 26-year-old who was also in that vehicle. 2 other passengers were hospitalized. He's charged with reckless homicide, aggravated DUI, and he will be in court for a detention hearing sometime this afternoon. So again, we have the information here. All young people here. Very tragic that this took the life of 2 people in Jackson Park, and as a result of a DUI. Again, he is expected to be in court sometime this afternoon. We'll be following up. We'll continue to post new information as we get it there. But he was issued a number of citations for this particular incident. Obviously, the most serious has to do with deaths that are associated with this, but also operating an uninsured motor vehicle, speeding 26 to 34 miles per hour over the limit, failing to stay in his lane. Again, a DUI. Tragic incident. It took the life of 2 people, 2 young people in our area. So several things that we're following. Again, our website is constantly being updated. Fox32Chicago.com is where you can find the 4 stories that I just told you about, but there's plenty more on our website as well, whether it be the extreme heat warning. We have new information about that on our website. So, if you're planning an outing, just check it out before you head out. If you don't have time to stay with us through 4 p.m., just check it out before you head out, or you can even get notifications to your phone. So there are plenty of ways that you can stay in the know. Let's go ahead. We have an Illinois lawmaker now who is speaking on birthright citizenship outside of the Supreme Court, and we're going to listen in to Delia Ramirez.
And what it is, the oath it took to be the moral legal authority of this nation. But I will tell you that almost a week later, as we're standing here in front of the Supreme Court, we understand what's at stake and why the decision this morning was so incredibly important. Because we have a president that from the very first few weeks that he was back in office issued an executive order attempting to question who gets to be an American and who doesn't. But today the Supreme Court did its job. Today the Supreme Court affirmed what you and I have always known in our hearts, in our communities, and in the Constitution, that the 14th Amendment extends the promise of citizenship to everyone born in the USA. Today we celebrate the people's win and extend our gratitude to all of those who have organized to protect our rights and our liberties. Nosotros somos prueba. We are living proof that the story of our nation wouldn't be complete without the sweat, without the tears, without the joy, without the dreams and hopes of so many children, of immigrants like Mia, like me, and the millions others who are citizens by birthright and pride themselves in being Americans. You see, for so many of us, our stories would not be possible without the sacrifice of our parents, the 2-3 jobs that each of my parents worked so that I could have a life that they never had. Without the sacrifice of our grandparents, our ancestors, sacrifices that we honor by working to fulfill the promise of America. And let me say to you, louder and clearer, not Trump, not Miller, not Mark Wayne Mullen can deny that today's immigrants are also the inheritors of the promise of America, just like so many of my colleagues' ancestors were. But friends, Casa, Mia, y toda persona que está aquí, we must remain vigilant. Because Trump, Miller, and the white nationalists in office will continue to attack our communities. They will continue to try to define who gets to be American and who is not American. But you and I are at the center of the fight for humanity, for diplomacy, for immigrant rights, because we understand that this nation is not successful. This nation does not move forward if it weren't for immigrants. So we will continue to stand up and fight back in the streets, in the courts, and in Congress to protect the rights of immigrants. And let me close by saying this. I believe in and fight for a land of freedom, of opportunities and equality, like so many descendants of those who were not born in America, but have built a life here. Today's celebration stands in contrast to the pain and disappointment, as I mentioned, that we felt just last week around TPS and asylum. So I want to make sure that I'm loud and clear. You and I, we will not be broken into submission. You and I, we will not go silent. We know that our young people are watching, but our young people are also leading in a time such as this. So let's continue to fight to fulfill the promise of America for the millions of people living in the shadows, because you and I know loud and clear that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Let's continue to fight for the humanity of every single person. Muchas gracias.
And they're hearing Representative Delia Ramirez from our area there outside of the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., as she's leading a group of people who are celebrating today the decision from the High Court for birthright citizenship, overturning an executive order from President Trump at the beginning of his term, this second term now, that questions, as you're hearing there, whether people who are born in the United States, if they are born to an undocumented citizen, should they be then counted as a United States citizen? And the Supreme Court said yes. They upheld what was already on, as a part of the Constitution, going back to the 14th Amendment there. So you could see on their shirts, it said, "We are casa, we are home," as they were chanting there, and making it clear that this is one ruling. Obviously, the TPS from last week, the decision for asylum seekers, to say that you cannot say from the outside of the United States on your way in that you are seeking asylum, that you would have to be inside of the United States already to seek asylum. Those decisions were big wins for the Trump administration. That will now complicate things for a lot of people who are here. But this is a big win for many people who have advocated that you cannot overturn the 14th Amendment, essentially, especially with an executive order. Is it a done deal? Possibly not. As you listen, if you were with us at the beginning of this hour to our conversation, Congress, the Speaker of the House has said this may come down to Congress actually having a say in this. But in a midterm year, will that come back around? We shall see. But today is a celebration for many who have advocated for upholding the 14th Amendment, and we'll see where things go from here in terms of the questions that still exist and the overall discussion about immigration and the United States and the how it progresses. What are the loopholes? What are the legalities? And how the United States continues to move forward. Again, we are awaiting two big moments. We know that the House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing seems like it's getting ready to start any minute now. All are seated there. We do know, again, there are two parents, two families represented from Illinois. This hearing that is on sanctuary policies and victims' perspectives. I believe it is the mother of Sheridan Gorman who is here, and also who will be testifying, and then also the father of Katie Abraham, who is from our area as well, who will be testifying. So it looks like they are just now starting. Let's listen into a bit of this.
Those angel families who are here today to watch these proceedings. Without objection, Ms. Miller and Mr. Lawler will be permitted to participate in today's hearing for the purpose of introducing witnesses. Hearing none, so ordered, and without objection, Mr. Baumgartner will be permitted to participate in today's hearing for the purpose of questioning the witnesses if a member yields him time for that purpose. Without objection, so ordered. I'll now recognize myself for an opening statement. During this session, this subcommittee is focused on so-called sanctuary laws that put criminal illegal aliens back on the streets rather than turning them over to federal authorities for deportation, as the law requires. The sole effect of these laws is not to impede general immigration enforcement. It is specifically to prevent deporting criminals. The toll of death and destruction caused by these policies is heartbreaking. As the death toll of innocent Americans continues to mount, Republicans will continue to avail victims' families the opportunity to describe the catastrophic impact that these policies have caused them. Two of those families will address us shortly. One is the mother of Sheridan Gorman. On March 19th of this year, Sheridan Gorman, an 18-year-old freshman at Loyola University, went to a Chicago park with friends to watch the Northern Lights. Instead, she was shot by an illegal alien from Venezuela, allowed into this country by the Biden administration. Within months of the illegal alien's release at the border, he was arrested for shoplifting. Now, he should have been turned over to authorities for deportation then. Instead, Chicago's sanctuary law released him back into the community where he had no legal right to be, and Sheridan Gorman is dead as a result. A few weeks ago, we heard from the mother of Stephanie Minter, murdered by an illegal alien with dozens of prior arrests, each time returned into the community by Fairfax County officials. Their excuse was that despite an $83 million annual budget for the county sheriff, they just didn't have the resources to pick up the phone and inform ICE that they had custody of an illegal alien so that alien could be deported. When I asked them how much it would cost to make a simple phone call to ICE, and whether Stephanie Minter's life was worth the cost of that phone call, I got no response. The murderer's multiple releases were also enabled by a far-left prosecutor who crafts sweetheart deals for illegal aliens so that they can avoid immigration consequences for their criminality. None of this makes any sense. Last year, these sanctuary jurisdictions refused to honor at least 17,864 ICE detainer requests of illegal aliens accused of committing other crimes. Instead, these aliens, who had no right to be in this country, were released onto our streets to reoffend at will. Illinois and California are just two examples of these renegade jurisdictions. Their refusal to cooperate with federal immigration officials terrorizes communities, incentivizes crime, and undermines the rule of law. In Illinois alone, one state, in just 11 months, authorities blew off 1,768 ICE detainers and instead released these criminals back onto the streets, despite crimes ranging from weapons offenses to burglaries to homicides. According to documents obtained by this committee, the Cook County Sheriff's Office alone released 408 criminal aliens from its custody in 2025 instead of honoring active ICE detainers. Now, the Democrats complain bitterly that we're focused on this tragedy. Well, I can assure them that the Republican majority will continue to expose the human toll of their policies until they are rectified. I'm sure we'll rehear their complaints that ICE arrests in communities have led to confrontations with violent demonstrators. But those arrests that require squads of officers and that put both officers and bystanders in danger would not be necessary if those aliens were turned over to ICE while in the custody of local law enforcement. They also tell us that refusing to cooperate with ICE fosters trust with the illegal alien population. Well, this begs the obvious question, can legal residents trust sanctuary jurisdictions to protect them and their families? And by the way, a U visa is already available to illegal aliens who are witnesses or victims to crime. Early this year, the Judiciary Committee passed the Shutdown Sanctuary Policies Act. It prohibits sanctuary jurisdictions from restricting communications with ICE about criminal aliens. It empowers local authorities and sanctuary jurisdictions to work with federal immigration officials. It forbids local jurisdictions from shielding criminals from ICE. It restricts certain federal grant funding to sanctuary jurisdictions that thwart federal law. And it provides a private right of action for the victims of these sanctuary policies. All of that is simple common sense. We shouldn't need a bill to force state and local officials to protect American citizens over dangerous foreign nationals, yet not a single Democrat on this committee voted for that legislation. Now, in addition to the grieving families of Sheridan Gorman and Katie Abraham, who are here today, we are also joined by Sheriff Gary Redmond of Amador County, California, from my district. He's dealing with an epidemic of illegal alien crime centered on illegal marijuana grows, and yet forbidden by state law from cooperating or even communicating with ICE to protect his citizens from this scourge.
Okay, so again, this is the beginning of the hearing the House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on sanctuary policies from the victim's perspective. Again, a vast issue of immigration, many different ways and aspects to it that are still being questioned to this day. Even though there was a major decision for proponents of birthright citizenship today, this is another aspect of immigration that is still a hotbed of controversy and emotion here regarding, especially if you think back to Operation Midway Blitz, the Trump administration said they are going after the worst of the worst. Well, this chair of the subcommittee hearing today is talking about sanctuary policies preventing the deportation of criminals, not people who are selling tamales on the street, but criminals from the country. And therefore, that is why we have two families here from Illinois that are going to be testifying from the victim's perspective today. They talked about, in terms of the chair there in his introductory comments, detainer requests that were denied. And obviously there are, in sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, there are fine lines between the work of immigration officials, federal officials, and the state and local entities as well. The chair says that criminals have been released to reoffend in Illinois and also in California that they are taking up today. They called our state a renegade state, that they are undermining the rule of law, and he specifically said there have been 1,768 detainer requests in Illinois that have been denied. 400, when he's speaking about Cook County specifically, 408 criminal aliens, as he says, 2025 that were released back into the general population here in Cook County. And he says, can legal residents trust that they will be protected just as those who are offending and then being put back into the community? This is going to continue on. When we know that our local families are speaking, we will go back to that. But we do want to get in another very important conversation here on the show. So give us 2 minutes for a quick break. We'll try to get to that before we go back to the hearing. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's about 1:53. We want to make sure that we get in this conversation about preeclampsia. It is for sure the most common pregnancy complication, a leading cause of death for pregnancy-related deaths and also preterm birth. And so Governor Pritzker is going to be signing legislation making Illinois the first state to mandate coverage of preeclampsia biomarker testing. And we have Kara Belt, the founder of End Preeclampsia, who is joining us now. Thank you so much for your time here. And please give me your reaction to Governor Pritzker taking this step to be a leader in the nation on this front.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita, for having me. I'm so proud of the state of Illinois right now, and I really want to thank Governor Pritzker as well as the legislators in the state of Illinois. I reached out to many of them directly and personally about this legislation, but it's going to bring equitable access to innovation in pregnancy care, particularly for women who experience preeclampsia. Preeclampsia causes 13,000 preterm births in Illinois alone. And like you said, it is one of the leading causes of maternal illness and death in our country, and also, specifically in Illinois. There is technology out there that's available, and one of those tests that's going to be covered by this legislation is the Encompass test that MIRV has designed. In pregnancy care, our pregnancies for preeclampsia the technology has not changed. The care has not changed in over 100 years, but we do have these new biomarker tests available, and we just need to be able to have women access them, and accessing them needs to be equitable. We need to be able to afford to access these tests so that we can take our pregnancy health care into our own hands, work with our care providers, to prevent, to take actions with the tools that are available for women so that we can have better outcomes in pregnancy in Illinois and in the rest of the country. And we're really hopeful that the legislation here, that Illinois is really taking the lead in this, and we hope that other states follow.
Do you know that there are some other states that are maybe close to making the same decision or making the same type of step?
Yeah, there's a lot of legislation going on in the United States. The American Cancer Society has been working on for a couple of years now on a disease agnostic biomarker legislation in all 50 states. This one in Illinois, though, is preeclampsia specific. And so while we do champion biomarker legislation wherever we can, however we are able to, we do that. But this is a huge win. And again, Illinois is taking the lead specifically for preeclampsia. In the United States, maternal morbidity and mortality is increasing, and we're the only country, developed country in the world that our maternal death rates are increasing. So it is. I'm especially proud as a Chicago, as an Illinois citizen, that our state has specifically created legislation that will cover tests like the Encompass test. To give women the ability to understand whether they are at a high risk or a low risk of developing preeclampsia, and then they can access the appropriate level of care. So it keeps the low risk women, they don't have to be in the hospital, they're not spending extra resources or money or time away from their jobs or family, they're getting the correct type of care, but it allows women who do test high risk with the Encompass test to receive a higher level of care, so we can utilize the resources that are available and be good stewards of those resources as well, because certainly the number of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of NICU days that result from preterm births cost everyone money, and whether that's our individual families paying for their health care and these high costs for NICU days, or like Medicaid paying for those costs. Now, with this legislation, once the governor signs it, the insurers and Medicaid will be paying for these tests so that women, no matter their socioeconomic status in Illinois, have access to them and can know what their risks are.
Yeah, it's like many things in the realm of health, that there is either a cost for prevention or there is a cost when you're dealing with it after it's full blown. And let me ask you, I mean, let's peel back all the way back here before I let you go. Let's say someone has never heard of preeclampsia. Explain it to someone like they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, thank you for that. Awareness is really key. Preeclampsia is a disorder of pregnancy that occurs at 20 weeks or beyond, and it can occur up to 6 weeks postpartum. The primary symptom of preeclampsia is elevated blood pressure, but there's also some sort of organ involvement. So that might be your kidneys, your liver, your lungs, your brain, and that can result in a lot of complications for mom and for baby. And typically it results in immediate or urgent delivery in these preterm babies. And there's long-term health consequences for mom and baby as well. I developed preeclampsia at 31 weeks of pregnancy. My baby was born weighing 2.5 pounds. And she and I both suffered, a long NICU stay. She was in the NICU for 30 days, for a month, and other long-term health issues. And we are lucky because we came out ultimately unscathed. We can manage these long-term health issues, but we're able to be here and be alive today to talk about our story and to help champion tests like Encompass for other women who will develop this disease. And so we're very grateful for the companies that are developing these drugs and tests, and for legislators for recognizing them and allowing access for everyone to them.
Well, thank you for taking your challenge to continue to advocate for change for many others out there. It is very scary, preeclampsia. So thank you so much for your time here, for educating, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take
Have a good
care.
day.
Everyone, it's 2 o'clock. I believe that Mayor Johnson is speaking now in his press conference. Let's listen in.
19 mental health clinics that were publicly supported. When I was sworn in, we were down to 6. So what did I do? I reopened 3 of them. We've expanded care from a pilot into a full operation across every single police district. Now, obviously, when we're building something new, something transformational as this, the layered approach towards ensuring that this new initiative works for the benefit of the people, I'm going to continue to make sure that these departments are aware of those desires. Now, look, we're already prepared to move to evening hours coming into the summer months. And as far as those vacancies are concerned, I know the department is working diligently to fill them.
And what about the status of these police PDTs?
I'm sorry, you did ask that. Yeah, so we're working to have those PDTs restored.
Do you know by when? And why has it been almost a year now without them?
Well, again, as I said, this is a brand new program. It's unprecedented. It's the first of its kind in the city of Chicago. We have our own unique set of circumstances that exist in Chicago. But here's one thing that I could assure you. We promise to expand and bring care to every single district and every single community around the city. We've done that. We're extending hours into the evening. And of course, we're investing in mental health across the board. We saw the increase in terms of appointments by 57%, almost 58%. So 40,000 people have made appointments. There's obviously a need here. And transformation does require not just an aggressive response, but it has to be fully funded. The last thing that I'll say is that's why we passed the first of its kind, the smart tax. No other government in the history of this country did it before us. And all of those revenues that are projecting to generate more than what our forecast initially projected will all be dedicated to mental and behavioral health care services. There's no mayor outside of Mayor Harry Washington that has ever given more to behavior and mental health care support services than me.
Thank you for taking the question, Mayor.
Of course.
I wanted to ask you about 2 things. One is about the debt collection plan that's part of City Council's budget. The city's moving forward with, it's chosen Bank of America as the placement agent to move forward with that sale of the debt collection piece. What's your expectation in terms of how things are going to move forward and if that's going to help you close the budget gap this year?
Well, the hope is that this could. What I said from the very beginning, it was a bad idea. And unfortunately, look, I didn't want to be right about this situation, but the city council had a decision to make. We could have taxed the top 0.5% corporations in the city of Chicago to generate $100 million, or they could have done what they did, which was to seek debt collectors on working people. I thought it was the wrong decision. I still think it's the wrong decision. But again, I'm going to do my part to help support this effort.
So you think it's going to help close the budget for this gap for this year?
I mean, I think what we're seeing right now is that it has generated $0.
And what about the parking?
Okay, we're listening to a bit of the question and answer portion of this standing briefing for the press with Mayor Brandon Johnson today there at City Hall on the 5th floor. The 2 pieces that he was asked about during our time listening in, the mental health pilot, that has been a big topic of conversation this week. The mayor wants a holistic approach to crime prevention and also to crime, to decreasing crime throughout our city. He created this mental health pilot as a means of sending more than just police officers to a scene that may indicate that someone is having a mental health episode. And so there was a lot of promise, if you will, for this pilot when it was first started. But here we are a year later, and the big question now, the big conversation this week, is that there was a new report that says most of it's been vacant. Most of the positions have been vacant. And so if there was a lot of promise, why are these positions still vacant a year later? And the mayor talked about investing in mental health, but why are there positions that are vacant a year later? It is a big topic of conversation. And again, he touched on a piece of that. I'm sure the reporters will circle back on that to get a little bit more context as to what is going on there. And then there was a brief conversation or a comment about debt collectors and trying to close the city's massive budget gap. So that is the financial issues of the city as we see the mayoral race for 2027 starting to build and a crowd of contenders start to join the race. The financial aspect, what they have deemed a financial crisis for the city, is a major talking point for the mayoral candidates as they have been jumping into the race one after another, mentioning the city's finances. So that was just a piece of it. They're continuing on. Again, we're still watching the hearing in Washington, D.C. For the subcommittee on sanctuary policies that also comes back here. There you can see Senator Raskin, Jamie Raskin, Representative Raskin, who is speaking at the moment. When we actually have the families, our local families who are there testifying, when they are speaking, we will listen back in there. But we're in the 2 o'clock hour here of our show. So give us 2 minutes. I'll set you up for where we're going. Our first guest is already here, so we don't want to keep them waiting too much longer. 2 minutes and we'll be back with that discussion. Okay, welcome back. 2:08 right now. I'm going to quickly go over some of the things that are coming up in this hour. We have NASA and their SAVE telescope. That should be around 2:45 when we get into that discussion about them racing to save an aging telescope from falling back to Earth. This is deemed as a daring rescue mission that's going on. $30 million to salvage this, and so we hope to hear from NASA right around 2:45. Also around 2:30, I don't know if you've heard about Princess Kate, the Princess of Wales, hiking several high peaks in order to raise money for a cancer charity, and we have a Chicago mountain climber who's going to be discussing that with us. We also have coming up here shortly a discussion about the possible misuse of public resources. We're talking about an ethics complaint for a school district, the superintendent, and many others associated with that district, over $93 million school bond referendum that was approved in 2022. Now, major questions about that and how that money was used. That is super huge when you think about how much money, public money, goes into our school system, and to think that it's not being used in the right way is a big concern. But we're starting in our conversations here in this hour with Sam Thousand. He is a musician, a director, a curator, and he's with the Arts Alliance Illinois Board, the board member, who is joining us to talk about the creative sector in Chicago. Being the third largest industry in our city. That is amazing. I'm not sure I'm surprised. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yes, we can't be surprised. You know, Chicago is known for its arts and culture, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Known for great works, great people, great minds that have churned out creative wins for the city and for the country for many years on end. How do you think this designation, though, maybe changes things? Is it just the level of awareness, or do you think that there will be some fundamental shifts now that this is cemented?
Yes, I mean, the report finds that just in Chicago, the creative economy is responsible for $50 billion in revenue and output generated. And this, the first step is awareness. The first step is letting people know that the arts, the local arts, is a substantial economic driver. Being the third largest is pretty substantial. Once we're aware, then we can actually take some measures, because there are some big gaps that we have to fill. That $50 billion is not seen by all the creators who are doing the work, and so we're trying to address that gap, which is very important to us as an ecosystem.
Yeah, interesting that, we were just having a discussion a short while ago about a health matter, and the issues of access and equity come into that discussion just as they do for this.
Yes, indeed. So I'm a performing artist. I've been full-time for the last 12 years. And I have recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, around the time of COVID, I really started to use my platform to be more of a curator and build more safe spaces, platform more artists, because we have a lot of artists in the creative community that don't necessarily see the opportunities that other artists may see. And of course, this happens in a lot of the disinvested areas, and it happens for a lot of creatives of color. And so just being an artist of color is very important for creatives to stand in and be a voice and to be a leader for our own communities. But then also, I'm just so honored to be in partnership with Arts Alliance Illinois, being on their board, and also being the co-chair of the Arts Leadership Council, to be this bridge, to resources and to arts advocacy. We have to work together. This is a great opportunity to do it, and now we finally have some statistics that are current to 2026, where we can actually take some steps to move forward.
Yeah, and so the hope would be, whereas we typically see arts programs and creatives, that's kind of, if there is a budget issue, that's typically the first place where that's cut down. That if you would see these types of numbers, nearly 213,000 jobs associated with the creative sector here in our city, that actually maybe the powers that be would say, actually, this might be an area of investment where we need to invest, correct?
Correct. The arts essentially is a way of life. This is a very Western thing that we call it the arts, and we try to commodify it and put dollars behind it. But in many other cultures around the world, arts is just a way of life. It's just something that we do. It's a part of our culture and how we have cultural exchange. It's also how we communicate with each other and tell stories and preserve history. So arts and culture is intrinsic to humanity. And so, yes, it does play a role with our mental health. And, arts in and of itself, I like to call it the great icebreaker. It really gets us talking to each other. It gets us working together, building community with each other. And it happens even at the neighborhood level. So I definitely think the discussion around mental health is very parallel with the discussion around accessibility to the arts, and also making sure we're taking care of the artists who are creating these containers for these cultural exchanges.
What encourages you for the arts community in 2026? Like, what says we're in the right space, we're doing the right things, or good things are on the way?
Yeah, so I am the founder of a social enterprise called Shybrations, and we have a three-legged initiative with events, media initiatives, and also with the Shybrations app. And we created a solution that's connecting a lot of creative communities throughout Chicagoland, through open mics, jam sessions, and workshops. And our community is consistently evolving and growing. And what we also offer is resources to artists, regardless if it's grant opportunities, space usage, and all of that. But what makes me most excited is that we have this news to break to the community and to let them know that, of course, the artists have been having these conversations amongst ourselves on how there's this investment and how we're not seeing the opportunities or how we're not seeing the money that is being generated in this city. But to know that these numbers are here, and there are organizations like Arts Alliance Illinois and all of our partners who are working to get this report out and who have already done the work to get the report out. It encourages me and encourages us artists as well to know that we are included, a part of this big ecosystem that is the driving force, and that there's not a separation now. These numbers show, every statistic show that these are human beings, right? Every statistic is a human being doing creative work, providing cultural exchange. And I think that's the most exciting part of it, is that we feel more connected, and we're not just siloed as underground artists or ground level artists who are really the working artists, who are the working class.
Yeah, that you're seen, you're heard, and the numbers say you should be valued. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor and pleasure.
And for what you all do on a regular basis. Take care. Have a great day. It's 2:17, everyone. Still a lot going on that we're monitoring. Again, we will take you back to Washington, D.C. should we see the local families that are there to testify at that subcommittee hearing on Sanctuary City speak. We'll go back there live. Is Mayor Johnson also still speaking? He's still taking question and answers. Let's listen in for a moment back here.
And youth leaders saying that such soft deterrents as Boys and Girls Club activities are not enough. When are you going to heed what the fed up and frustrated grown adults want and join other major cities such as Detroit, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta on balancing with robust crackdowns? As people are saying, enough is enough, and the excuses are getting real old.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned those cities, because those cities have, and I've spoken directly with Mayor Sheffield. And if you listen to her presentation, she says the same thing that I say, which is what? Accountability and opportunity. There's nothing magical that's happening across this country as it relates to creating opportunities for our young people. That frustration is across the board, right? And I've expressed that.
Yeah, they're saying it's not enough. You've had youth leaders say it's not enough. Yeah.
Okay. You have a second question? You have another question?
No, I was letting you finish.
I finished. Do you have
Yeah,
a
I do
second
have a
question?
second question.
Okay.
Before I move on to that second question, my colleague Teal Hardiman asked me to put this forward to you as to when you were going to get back to him on violence interrupters, and I'll let y'all sort that out, because that's not my main focus. That's between the two.
All right.
The
Thank
two
you.
So I asked it. So the second question is, as the terms for the Chicago Housing Authority member and also mayoral candidate Matthew Brewer and Vice Chair James Matakian, expires this summer, our cauldron of sources say that your fifth floor overreach with what's supposed to be an independent board is placing it at odds with the Department of Housing and Urban Development compliance and driving CHA toward a potential federal takeover. How do you answer that as the CHA has this 3-day retreat that started yesterday and combination meeting out in Oak Brook?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, as I've said multiple times, housing, affordability, and particularly public housing, plays a part in carrying out my vision. And I've worked in collaboration with all of our sister agencies and city departments to secure safe and affordable communities. And I think the last thing that I'll say here is, look, I know that there is a hyper proclivity to work to politicize the authority that I have. What I find to be somewhat disingenuous, not from you, is that this notion that these boards are independent. And when other mayors sat in this seat, no one ever spoke about the independence of those boards. I can tell you, because those boards, whether it was a school board, I watched how they took the direction of a mayor to shut down schools. I watched how public housing was shut down in Cabrini Green, the very communities in which I taught in. I have cousins who were raised there. So this notion that somehow, these boards are independent of a mayor, where was that call and cry for independence when our people were being harmed by those boards with the direction of the fifth floor? And again, you know this, Mark, firsthand, because you've seen this. You've seen me grow in this organizing struggle where I fought against school closings, a board that was ostensibly independent, where we actually had to fight to keep public mental health clinics open. Boards that are ostensibly independent of the mayor's office. But I watched all those boards take direction.
Okay, we were listening in there as Mayor Johnson really talked about two major topics. One, teen trends and the comparisons, contrasts between what's happening here in Chicago and also how Mayor Sheffield, that is the new mayor in Detroit, how she's handling things in Detroit. There are some comparisons, as he pointed out, but there are also some major differences in some of the things that they're doing there in Detroit in terms of parental accountability that failed here in the city of Chicago as well. And then he was addressing questions about CHA, that is the Housing Authority for Chicago, and he talked about that it's often a common, he feels, vein for people to politicize his authority. So he was going into more detail about how he feels that many times that has happened. But we do have, again, on the East Coast, families of local young women who died as a result of instances that have happened regarding undocumented people in this area, and this is the father of Katie Abrams, who is speaking now before this House subcommittee. We want to listen.
How was competency evaluated? Whether public safety was even a concern. Any protocols followed. Accountability cannot change what happened to Katie, but it can help prevent similar tragedies. My parents came to America legally more than 60 years ago from a developing country. Like millions of lawful immigrants, they believed America was a nation governed by laws rather than political convenience. They respected the process because they respected the country. They taught me citizenship carries obligations, that laws exist for a reason, and that government has fundamental responsibilities to the people it serves. When government fails in that responsibilities, real people bear the consequences. My daughter was one of them. The central question before this committee, to me, is straightforward. Did failures in immigration enforcement, government coordination, public policy increase preventable risks to American citizens. These are not partisan questions. They are oversight questions. They are public safety questions. Too often, immigration debates become about systems and policies while victims fade into the background. Katie was not a statistic. She was my daughter. She should still be alive today. Congress can't undo what happened to Katie, but it can examine what failed. Demand transparency from government agencies and public officials. Insist that policies be judged not by their intentions, by their outcomes. Katie lost her future January 19th, 2025. My family lost ours with her. I asked this committee to demand full transparency, identify the failures that allowed a previously deported individual to illegally return, remain in this country, obtain a driver's license, and ultimately kill 2 young women. Hold government accountable, strengthen coordination between federal, state, and local authorities, and judge every policy by one simple question. Would this better protect the next American stopped at a red light? Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll next hear from Ms. Pierce.
Chairman McClintock, Ranking Member Jayapal, thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Again, very emotional moments there as we hear, again, this is a hearing for the victim's perspective of Sanctuary City policies, the father of Katie Abraham, who died in 2025, January of 2025, downstate in the Champaign-Urbana area as she was visiting a friend of hers, a student at the University of Illinois, and they were hit by a vehicle driven by an undocumented immigrant. As he says, laws exist for a reason. He feels that the government failed them and that there are real consequences of these types of things that families bear the brunt of, like his family. And he wanted people to understand that Katie is not a statistic, that she was his daughter, that their family is forever changed, as you would imagine, and that she should still be alive. That this committee hearing and that lawmakers need to demand full transparency. And in this case, as it resulted in not having transparency, a person who was previously deported was back in the United States, somehow obtained a driver's license, and then ended up on the roadway taking the life of these 2 young women, one being his daughter, Katie. So that hearing is continuing on. As we said, there are 2 families from our area who are represented there. That is the family of Katie Abraham, but also the family of Sheridan Gorman, another young woman in her early stages of life, blossoming, that was cut short. And when her family speaks, I believe it will be her mother, when she speaks, we will listen back in. But we are going to continue on with our conversations while there is some more testimony that is going on. Give us 2 minutes here. We are monitoring several different things. We do want to get to this conversation about the misuse of public resources, possible misuse of public resources, the claim that's being made here in our area. We're also monitoring something on the East Coast, a horrible incident that's taken place, and we were getting some live pictures. You can see the helicopters that were up over the train tracks, where there was a massive freight train derailment that happened in Pennsylvania. So as soon as we get more pictures from on the ground so that you're actually able to see what has happened there, it's pretty extensive. We'll go back to that as well. Give us 2 minutes before we move on. Welcome back, everyone. 2:30 right now on your Tuesday. It's been a busy afternoon. Lots of things that are moving around and developing. We want to have our next discussion that we had planned for this hour. Again, we are still monitoring that hearing in Washington, D.C., and when the family of, from Sheridan Gorman, when her mother speaks, we will go back to it. She is there on the right-hand side facing the representatives on the hearing committee. So we will go back there just as soon as Sheridan Gorman's family speaks. But we have Brian Costin, the Deputy State Director for Americans of Prosperity, Illinois, who is joining us right now, as there is a major ethics complaint regarding one of our local school districts right now, and a huge referendum campaign to the tune of $93 million for a school bond referendum, and now questions about how that money was used. Thank you so much for being here, Brian Costin.
Thank you for having me, Anita.
Explain how this came to be, this ethics complaint came to be.
Yeah, so we've been familiar with the referendum. Our offices here in Rolling Meadows is actually a part of District 15. Justin Hagee is a former candidate for that office, and so he informed us what was going on. But recently we found a testimonial from the superintendent basically saying that this consulting company played a critical role in helping the district pass a successful referendum measure in November 22. We just found that recently, and so we put together an ethics complaint and filed it yesterday for Community Consolidated School District 15 that's in Palatine, but in the northwest suburbs of Cook County.
Let's say someone doesn't understand what they did wrong. What is it?
Right. So local governments can put out factual information about a referendum, but they cannot be persuasive and try to get people to, what we often see is get them to vote yes for a tax hike. The taxpayers shouldn't be financing referendum campaigns that hike their taxes. That's highly unethical, and it is a violation, in our opinion, underneath the State Ethics Act, which all local governments in the state of Illinois must adhere to.
Is this the first time you've filed this type of ethics complaint here in our area?
No, it is not. We've filed other ethics complaints in the past, and we've had various levels of success. But this is the first one in Cook County that we filed. But based on this website that we found, there are a number of local governments that have been using the same company, and superintendents or executives making similar statements, thanking this company for helping them pass a referendum. And that is against the law. You are not supposed to be hiring people to help pass referendums.
Have you received any type of response from the district? I mean, I see that it's not just the district, the superintendent, and you say any associated parties are part of this complaint. So have you received any type of response from any of these entities that are involved?
So far in District 15, we've only received a response saying that they have received the ethics complaint. We also asked for them to name who their ethics commissioners are because we couldn't find it on their website. They did not provide that information, although by state law they are required to have an ethics commission that handles these types of complaints. We actually don't know who those people are, so we're hoping that they will respond quickly on that.
And what do you think will be a likely timeline on something like this?
Right. It could be anything from a couple weeks to a couple months. In the past, we've seen local library boards, for example, that didn't have an ethics commission appointed, so they had to appoint members, and that might take some time to do if that's a similar situation here in Palatine. But what the ultimate goal of ours is to make sure that taxpayer money isn't being spent in a manner that's trying to persuade the public to raise taxes even higher. We already have the highest state and local taxes in the entire nation and the highest property taxes in the nation. So We think we've got a pretty ironclad case. We hope that the Ethics Commission looks at it, they investigate deeper, and then file a referral to the Cook County State's attorney to look into bringing charges against the superintendent and any other parties that might have violated the law.
What kind of charges do you think they could face?
Well, on the high end of things, it can be official misconduct, which could lead to the removal from office. Now, this superintendent has resigned. Not related to this. They already planned that before we filed our ethics complaint. But there's also, you can get your pension taken away. Official misconduct is a Class 3 felony, and the penalties are up to 10 years in prison.
There's a lot there. Please continue to keep us updated.
We will. Thank you so much for covering this.
And thank you for your time. Everyone, it's 2:36 right now. Sheridan Gorman's family is now speaking. Her mother. Let's listen in.
Her life. On March 19th, Sheridan went with friends to the lakefront in Chicago because they hoped they might see the northern lights. She never saw those lights. The man accused of murdering my daughter is Jose Medina, an illegal immigrant from Venezuela who should not have even been in this country. And even after committing a crime and having an outstanding warrant, he was left on the streets of Chicago to murder my innocent American child. But this story, it's not about him. This story is about my Sheridan. It's about how failed border policies, sanctuary city laws, and twisted leaders refused to cooperate with ICE. They sent her to her grave. It's about a government and politicians that forgot their first priority. And the question before this committee is painfully simple. When did protecting our American citizens stop being your first priority? And even more important, why did protecting our American citizens stop being your first priority? I want an explanation, I need one, and I deserve one. But first I want you to know who my Sheridan was. I want you to understand what we all lost because of your mismatched priorities. My husband and I have always joked that our older daughter, Madeline, is our pride. Well, Sheridan was our joy. From the moment she was born, Sheridan was pure energy, enthusiasm, laughter, fun. She was the kind of person who made every room brighter and usually a little louder. Which is why when Sheridan was in kindergarten, I remember going to her first parent-teacher conference. I was a little nervous, because while she was the sweetest little girl you could possibly imagine, she was also the chattiest. I remember sitting down across from her teacher, bracing myself, and asking with bated breath, "So, how's my Sheridan?" I'll never forget when the teacher looked at me very seriously and said, "I only have one thing to say to you." Oh, my stomach dropped. Then she said, "Your Sheridan stalks the buddy bench." I remember blinking at her. "I'm sorry, what?" She said, "Your Sheridan stalks the buddy bench." I was totally confused, and I asked, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And what exactly is a buddy bench? And the teacher smiled and said, "It's a beautiful thing." She explained that they had a bench in the play yard. She said that not all kids are as outgoing and confident as your Sheridan, so the children were told that if they wanted to play or if they felt lonely, left out, shy, they could sit on that bench. And then the other children were told that if they saw someone sitting there, they should go over, talk to them, ask them to play. And apparently Sheridan, my tiny kindergartner, had appointed herself the guardian of that bench. Every day at recess, instead of heading straight to the swings or joining in a game of kickball, my daughter hung back and hovered by the nearby tree, just watching that bench, just waiting, just in case someone might need her. Kids didn't even have a chance to fully sit down on the bench before Sheridan was rushing over to take them, to take their hand, pull them away. Girls, boys, first graders, kindergartners, it really didn't matter to her. If a child looked lonely, Sheridan went over. If someone had no one to play with, Sheridan was there. If someone felt invisible, Sheridan saw them. That was my daughter, and that is who she was until the day she was stolen from us. And I honestly can't make sense of it. I cannot make peace with it. And in what world does the child who spent her life making sure no one was lonely die terrified and alone on a pier in Chicago? In what world does the girl who saw everyone become invisible to the people in power responsible for protecting her? This cannot be explained away, and it cannot be buried beneath a list of unrelated issues that you all paraded before us. Thanks for telling me without telling me that, you know, you're here, but you don't want to be. This is the fourth time you had angel families. Thanks for telling me you don't care. This cannot be buried under your slogans, your statistics, or excuses, and this just can't stand. So today, I bring this back to the buddy bench. I think Congress needs one. I think every governor, every mayor, every sanctuary city official and politician shifting blame and interest, hiding behind their slogans and talking points should have to all sit on one. And I challenge you all to sit down with me, take my hand, look me in the eye, and then explain to me, because I just don't understand. Explain why people here illegally matter more than your American citizens. Explain why sanctuary policies matter more than my Sheridan's life. Explain why cooperation with ICE was too much to ask for, but asking our American parents to bury our children is somehow acceptable. Ask me. I need you to tell me. I want you to imagine that little girl on the buddy bench, that innocent college freshman with a heart full of compassion and a head full of dreams that was gunned down by an illegal immigrant, I want you to imagine that was your daughter, not mine. What if she was yours? Would you even hesitate for 1 second to act or to make changes? My Sheridan spent her whole life choosing others. Today, I'm just asking this committee in our Congress, in our country, to choose her. She was worth protecting. She was worth saving. And she was worth your brave vote. To all of those who have supported us, who have prayed for us, who have cried with us, and to those who have had the courage to speak out and say Sheridan's name, thank you. Because every time you say her name, you give a piece of her back to us. You remind the world that Sheridan was not a talking point. She wasn't a statistic or a headline. She was our daughter. She will always be my sweet sunshine. And if the people who failed her would rather look away, then I'm asking the rest of you to look right at her. Here she is. There's she and I. Here she is. This is taken the day before she died. Say her name, tell her story, and demand better. Because my Sheridan Grace Gorman should still be alive. And no mother should have to stand where I am standing, begging elected leaders to value my child's life after it's already too late. I cried when I came into the room. I saw this poster that you made. It says, at every stop, the system had a chance to stop him. At every step, it failed. And my daughter paid for those failures, your failures, with her life. No family should ever have to bury a child because public officials fail to put American lives first. I'm just asking you to choose us. We choose you. We choose you. Choose us. Why does my child matter less than an illegal immigrant? Why? Listen, I have a heart. I love immigrants. 2 of my best friends in this whole world are immigrants. They came here the right way. I absolutely think they make America beautiful. But my daughter's beautiful too. I need you to think about what these policies are. And I need you to imagine this is your daughter, because I'm very sure you won't be cutting off anyone when they're speaking. I'd be very sure you won't call this a political stunt. The grief is real. Every day I wake up with unimaginable pain. Do you know what I wake up in the middle of the night and I think, did my daughter cry for me? She made it 40 feet. She made it 40 feet running for her life. Did she cry out for me? She died on that pavement all by herself, lonely, bleeding on that pavement. And I will never, ever rest. I actually have to say that I am devastated. My husband and I, we're only a couple years away from retirement. I've worked my whole life so hard. All I wanted to do was just enjoy our children. Just wanted to enjoy my Sheridan, my Madeline. And now I'm bitter. I'm bitter because I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm a lover. I love children. I love pumping people up and making them feel good about themselves. I'm not racist. I'm not xenophobic. We've done everything right, my husband and I. We taught our daughter to be wonderful, beautiful person. Her love was extravagant. And now I'm going to have to spend my last waking moment, I'm going to have to spend fighting against these policies, fighting for people to say her name. So, if you have the courage, please come talk to me. Come sit on that bench. I'll buy Congress a bench. Talk to each other. Talk to each other. We shouldn't be screaming across the room. I mean, we also shouldn't say but, because I have to just say, and I understand that you're here for a reason. I don't understand why it's only the Republican side that cares about our American children. And I know that you're a mother. I know that you're a father. I deeply value that. But basically what you just did, what you said was, I'm so sorry for your loss. I have a daughter too. I have a son. I feel your pain. You don't. You don't feel my pain. Because the next words out of your mouth were, but. There's no but. When your child is in a coffin, there's no but. And I need you to understand that. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. I'm going to buy you a bench. I'm going to buy, you can put that on the record. I'm going to buy Congress a bench. And they can come and sit and hold my hand and look me in the eye and explain to me why illegal immigrants are more important than my daughter. I really want to know because I don't understand. Please, I welcome you. I will listen. I will listen. I care. I care. I just need you to explain it to me because I don't and I fear I will never understand. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I can't imagine how difficult this appearance is for you, and we thank you for being here today.
Not sure there could be a dry eye in the room after listening to Sheridan Gorman's mother, her heartfelt words and the pain that is ever present behind every word that she spoke, losing her 18-year-old daughter here in the city of Chicago, a Loyola student, as she put it, an outgoing, confident young woman with a heart full of compassion and a head full of dreams who lost her life inexplicably. That's maybe the best way to put it, inexplicably. She has a litany of questions for failed border policies that she feels put her daughter in the crosshairs of not just policy, but also on the receiving end of a gun that was used by an undocumented immigrant named Jose Mendita, who had already committed a crime since being in the United States, was back out on the streets, and she blames sanctuary policies for what took place, that there were many steps that could have prevented those two from ever encountering each other, Sheridan and Jose Medina. She says she wants and needs an explanation. She believes that the first priority of the government and politicians should be protecting American citizens, and she cannot make sense or make peace with what has taken place that has left people speaking of her daughter as a statistic, and says that the comments from politicians have been excuses, that they have shifted blame and interest, but ultimately her daughter paid the price for what she sees as failures in the entire system, from the state, city, and the country. Again, they are continuing on with this very emotional hearing. It is meant to be emotional. It is about sanctuary policies from the victim's perspective. There is no way around it being emotional. These parents who have lost so much. We wanted to make sure that we honored the families of local victims. So we took time here on the show to hear from the father of Katie Abraham, who was killed downstate, but is from our area, and also from the family, the mother of Sheridan Gorman, who was killed outside of Loyola University just recently. Let's take a 2-minute break before we move on with our conversations here on the show. Okay, everyone, we are back here, and it's just about 2:53 now as we continue with our conversations. We have had quite a few conversations this year about wonderful things happening for NASA, some things that we've never seen before, some things we haven't seen in a very long time, some, when I say some wonderful, many, many wonderful moments, also some frightening moments as well, but one moment that is happening right now, it just kind of, we've got lots of questions about it. NASA is racing to save an aging telescope from falling back to Earth with this daring rescue mission that's happening. We have Dr. Brad Senko, who is a research astrophysicist at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, who has agreed to join us to help give some context and understanding to what's going on. Thank you so much for your time.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
And did I pronounce your last name correctly? I want to make sure.
You got it right. Thank you.
Okay, great. Explain what is happening. When we say a daring rescue mission, how so?
NASA's SWIFT satellite is orbiting the Earth. It's currently at an altitude of about 360 kilometers. And because it runs into the atmosphere, even though there's, the atmosphere is relatively tenuous up there, there's still material. It runs into that material, it slows down, and that causes it to fall closer to the Earth. If it continues along the pace that it's been going, it will actually re-enter the atmosphere, largely burn up sometime later this year.
Okay, when we say burn up sometime later this year, would there be like would we on the ground have some type of effect from that? Or would it all be disintegrated and gone by the time we ever could even possibly notice?
The vast majority of the material is going to burn up in the atmosphere. And so in principle, you might be able to see something that looked like a meteor, for example. Small amounts of material might make it down to the ground. Typically, those are going to fall into the ocean. But the biggest impact that we would see on Earth are the potential for seeing bright flashes in the sky.
And is there a particular area of the country that would see that, or would it be throughout the country?
So Swift is at a low inclination, so it's at 20 degrees, which means that it's farther south than everywhere in the U.S. So we wouldn't see much from here, certainly not from where you're sitting in Chicago. But people around the equator might be able to see something if that ever did happen.
Very interesting. Okay, and so this mission that's happening right now, a $30 million salvage operation, explain why a robotic lifesaver is used in this, and even what type of robotic lifesaver are we talking about? What kind of technology went into this?
So NASA contracted with a company in Arizona called Catalyst Space Technologies. They have built, designed, tested, and soon will launch a satellite that's called Link. The Link satellite will approach Swift. It will get quite close. It has 3 robotic arms, 2 on each side, 1 on the top. Those come out from the spacecraft. On the end of those arms are mechanical grippers. You think kind of like a lobster claw, effectively. They use pressure to grab on to the Swift satellite at 3 locations. Once they've grabbed on stably, the spacecraft has electric propulsion system that will allow it to boost Swift to a higher orbit, and then it will let go, and that will allow Swift to continue to conduct the really valuable science observations that it's been doing for the last 20 years.
Wow. Okay, and then I'm seeing that Hubble could be next. How would that? I mean, what's going on that it wouldn't just be Swift, but Hubble could also be affected?
So all satellites that are in low Earth orbit, their altitude is going to decline over time. It's due to this friction, this drag force that you experience from the atmosphere. Normally, when satellites are at high altitudes, that happens very slowly. The density of the atmosphere increases as you go to lower altitudes, and so that picks up over time. What's caused a lot of problems in the last few years is that the sun has been very active. By very active, I mean it's had a large number of sunspots, has a large number of solar flares. You may have noticed that, as far south as Chicago, it's been possible to see the northern lights or the auroras several times over the course of the last year. That's the impact of the sun on our atmosphere, which is great. It leads to, very beautiful pictures, but it's not great for satellites that are in orbit because it causes the Earth's atmosphere to puff up, and that causes them to fall faster than we had predicted.
All very interesting things. And why do you think we're seeing these in 2026?
So the sun goes through a cycle. Every 11 years, it experiences increased activity. So we knew that was going to happen in 2024 and 2025. What we didn't have a great understanding of was how active it was going to be. We have models that predict solar activity based on previous cycles of activity, based on our understanding of the physics of how the interior of the sun works, but they're not perfect. They're just models. And in this case in particular, they really underpredicted how active the sun would be, how many times it would be sending off material, impacting the Earth's atmosphere. And that caused all satellites in low Earth orbit, like Swift and like Hubble, to fall faster than we had thought they would.
Very interesting. And do you think, in the process of having these types of things happen, that it sounds almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like these are, even though it's a rescue mission happening and you're looking toward the next thing, some of this in terms of age related would be kind of calculated from the sense of, we know we're going around this time, we're going to need to address this, meaning it wouldn't be a setback to other things going on. Is that right?
Yeah, Swift was always designed to re-enter the atmosphere. When it was launched in 2004, we didn't have a great estimate of when that would happen, but we knew it was going to happen eventually. But when it became clear that it was going to happen sooner than we had thought, NASA decided that it wanted to take action, and it did that for a couple of reasons. First, because it's still doing fantastic science, and this was a relatively low-cost way for it to allow Swift to continue doing that science for many more years. Second, because this is a really important capability for the United States commercial space sector. The idea that satellites are not just going to always burn up in the atmosphere and re-enter, and that you could service them, replace batteries or other components that have failed, give them new instruments, new scientific opportunities that are available to them. That really could change the way that the space environment works. And this was just a really great test case to demonstrate that and stimulate that capability in the U.S. commercial space sector.
Wow. Well, it has definitely been a great year for science and watching the things that NASA has been doing. And even when we don't fully understand it from our perspective, we appreciate those like yourself who take the time to explain it better for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. It's 3:01, everyone. We're in our final hour here of Chicago Live for the day. I feel like it came about very quickly because we just had so much going on. Give us 2 minutes. I'll let you know what's coming up over the course of the next 60 minutes before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock news. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 3:04 right now. I'm going to quickly go over some of the things in terms of conversations that we're getting into in this final hour here of Chicago Live for the day. Thank you so much if you've been with us since the first hour. There's been a lot going on today. And so let's just quickly go over these topics for this final hour. We're going to talk about a pretty difficult conversation at the end of the hour. I'm going to tell you now that it's difficult. We hope that you will stand by and listen for it, because it's one of those very difficult but important topics to parse through. And this is a $50 million verdict in a lawsuit from our area that has to do with a young camper who was raped at a Chicago area camp for kids. Okay, so again, extremely difficult. Very important that you know what's going on and how this was handled. We'll talk about it around 3:45. We're going to get into our weather, extreme heat warning that has now been expanded for our entire area. And so we'll have JD Rudd come up and give us a few more details about that. Please be careful. Take all of the precautions that you need. We know it's one of those weeks, especially when everyone wants to be outside. We've waited for the opportunity to get outside a little bit more, but we have a little bit more that's coming with our weather other than just sunshine this week. So we'll talk about the precautions you need to take and just what we can expect around 3:30. We're also going to have a conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of Bank Redemption. And a really interesting concept here. This is out of another part of our country, but they are expanding their business model, hoping to expand it even here to Chicagoland. So you want to hear about something that could be coming to our area very soon. But we're starting our conversations here with what is an ongoing conversation for the city, and especially for city council and the mayor, regarding video gaming terminals and Bally's Corporation. We know, we've been watching as Bally's has been in Medina Temple, the temporary home, and getting ready for the permanent home of Bally's. But in the midst of all of this momentum happening this way, there is this conversation about video gaming terminals and small business owners that say they are a lifeline for their businesses, but Bally's that says this could actually be cutting in to their bottom line. Can they coexist? We don't know yet, but we have the SVP, corporate development at Bally's Corporation, who is joining us to really sift through the details of this that has now become more of a legal fight. We have Christopher Jewett. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on. First off, I'd like to thank you for having me on. We're extremely proud, to execute upon the project for the city of Chicago. It's a historic project. The city had been trying to get a casino for more than 30 years, and this is meant to help shore up the police and fire pensions. And with that, we agreed to a whole slew of not only financial commitments, but also historic diversity standards and numerous community benefits, in that contract. So that deal is now in jeopardy, as our contract has been materially breached by the legalization of video gambling terminals.
So really interesting that when you talk about it being materially breached, that you all have secured the law firm of former Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who, as I understand it, was a part of the actual. She was the mayor during the negotiations to bring Bally's to Chicago, correct?
She was, correct.
Mm-hmm. So she would know, if you're talking about strategy, she would know all of the details that were agreed upon initially.
Look, I can't speak for Mayor Lightfoot. What I can tell you is that we always target putting together the best team possible and the appropriate team to protect our interests here under the contract that we have with the city.
Mm-hmm. I'm just speaking in terms of why would you all secure her firm of all firms?
We look, RFK Global, they're well regarded, and we're excited to have them on board, right? They're experienced in the city. And again, we're always looking to add great team members, as I think anyone who is quarterbacking any sort of project or any sort of interest overall in business, government, or what you will.
Sure. So this issue of video gaming terminals, initially this was something that Mayor Johnson supported, and as of late, he has kind of pulled back a bit to say, wait a minute, we need to look into this further. At the same time, you all sent a letter, Bally's sent a letter to City Council essentially threatening to sue at that point in time. Am I walking through this correctly?
Somewhat, yeah. I'm not sure that, and I don't want to speak for the mayor's office, but I'm not sure that he ever has supported VGTs. You know, what I will tell you is our contract explicitly states that these are prohibited. You know, we would not have agreed to the massive level of commitments. You know, nearly $2 billion of spend on top of a bunch of other things. Knowing that there would have been, you know, essentially the equivalent of what would be 5 competitive casinos within, you know, city limits. And to get to that 5 competitive casinos, that's taking the number of licensed liquor establishments that, you know, are available to have VGTs and aggregating out, you know, with 6 per location. It gets you to essentially 5 more casinos in the city.
And it's interesting that is you all's perspective, that you see it from an aggregate of it essentially amounts to 5 other casinos in the city, because of course the small business owners see it as just a small piece of the pie that could be the difference between them surviving or going under.
I can understand that. I can also understand, and I will tell you, there's almost 100 jurisdictions across the state that literally have banned these, and they don't want them, right? For a myriad of reasons. On top of, you know, another article just came out today. You know, there's an all-time high, over 500 incidents of you know, theft, crime, break-ins, robbery, before 6 months are out of the year, this year, at various VGT locations across the state. When last year, there was just around the same amount. So they've doubled the amount in less than half the year this year. Clearly, these will be a target for, you know, organized crime or just crime in general.
And we have seen those reports. We have definitely responded to some of those instances over the last even several months here, several weeks even. Is it correct that Bally's offered to set up your own, essentially your own video gaming terminals at the airports to kind of, you know, I don't know if the word would be to have some type of negotiation here?
A negotiation. Look, we understand, you know, budgets and filling a budget gap, right, and having consistent revenue. Right, as recurring revenue is important in any sort of budgeting process. What we had proposed is allowed under our casino license, whereby we are allowed to place slots at both O'Hare and at Midway. In terms of being able to do that, you know, we obviously need the right constituents at the table and buy-in, and we believe that revenue is a great replacement, you know, not only for VGTs, which are completely different, but also an enhancer to the city, and will ultimately capture dollars, you know, quite frankly, from mostly tourists and visitors, not just locals.
So at this point in time, I mean, are you getting any feedback from the mayor, from city council, that says that this could be maybe, there could be some type of agreement before it ends up in court?
I would say this, we are continuing the conversations with all constituencies, but we also want folks to know that, you know, this is a very serious violation for us, and that we plan to take any and all necessary in order to protect our investment. And we didn't agree to invest nearly $2 billion, including paying the city $40 million up front, when it clearly states that these were banned, and that's where we stand today.
And in other places where Bally's has, you know, opened a casino, have you gone through situations like this?
Yes. So we have 2 other properties in the state, one in Rock Island, Illinois, and one in East St. Louis. And I would tell you, just taking those 2 properties as an example, or any of the properties, quite frankly, that were open in 2011 prior to VGTs being placed. The first VGT was placed in 2012 in the state. So fast forward, take that 2012 revenue and compare it to the most recent year, 2025. Revenue at those casinos that existed in the state prior to VGTs being in place are down almost 40% in terms of revenue.
Wow.
Impacts, right? Those are massive impacts. And hopefully you can see why we are so serious about this being a real issue, not only for us, but for jobs, for our investors, right? We promised to have local ownership of this project. We've got over 1,000 Chicago residents that own a portion of this casino project. This is not just us, right? It's city ownership, it's local ownership, it's community ownership, it's union jobs, right? All of which are going to be affected. On top of the fact that the city gets, essentially fifth of the dollar from a VGT dollar as it does from a slot dollar at our casino.
And so do you all hold up operations? If we're thinking through like the timeline that we have also been reporting on in terms of when Bally's would have your permanent home, does this hold up operations, or do you all continue to walk forward while working this out?
Process play out, as we always have throughout this. Our goal has always been to deliver everything we promised, and we're going to do that. Back essentially 60 days ago, actually today is the 60-day mark whereby we held the topping out ceremony and placed the last piece of structural steel on the project. For anybody that is driving by and views it, the whole hotel tower is almost glass covered, right? The entire building is nearly complete in terms of being weatherproof. There's drywall up in numerous levels of the hotel, and a lot of work is being done inside, the casino itself.
And so as of right now, the expected opening for the permanent home would be when?
We haven't announced a formal date, but I would say the first half of next year is a fair assessment.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. Please keep us updated on how things go from here with City Council.
Thank you for your time.
Take care. 3:16 right now. Again, that was Christopher Jewett, the SVP for Corporate Development at Bally's Corporation. We are going to take a 2-minute break before our next discussion. Welcome back, everyone. We are quickly approaching 3:20 and diving right into our next discussion here on the show about Redemption Bank. If you haven't heard of it, listen closely to this conversation because it's something that could be coming here to our area very soon. We have Ashley Bell, the Executive Chairman, Chief Executive Officer for Bank Redemption, and then also Tashara Jones, former mayor of St. Louis, who is a board member at Redemption. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us both.
Mm-hmm. And I believe, Tashara, I think you're a fellow Hamptonian. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Look, I know my people.
Go Pirates!
You popped up and I'm like, wait, I know that name. We don't know each other, but I know about you. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Redemption Bank. How was it created? Where was it created? And how is it coming this way?
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. Redemption Bank we're 1 year old as of June. This was an idea that was, formed with Black professionals around the country, along with people from other religions and backgrounds. And we said, you know what? There has to be a Black-owned bank going into the next century that can serve everybody, that could be an investable proposition, and could be mission-driven, where we could do good and do well. We felt that going into the next century, we need to make sure that we have banks that are owned by the community that can compete at a high level technologically, but also have a unique ability to challenge the status quo as far as economic opportunity in our communities.
Mm-hmm. We've had several conversations today that revolve around access and equity, and I'm going to put this in that category as well. I mean, there have been some, Ashley, some very high-profile names associated in supporting this from the beginning, and I put right out there Dr. Bernice King being one of them. But Tashara, I want to add you into this discussion in terms of why you decided to be one of those notable names that came on board as a board member.
Well, during Dr. King's final months on this earth, his message switched from civil rights to silver rights. And that includes having access to financial services. And in my years as mayor and treasurer of the city of St. Louis, that was one of my number one advocacy points. I wanted to make sure that people had access to find the same financial tools that everybody else does, but free. So I opened an office of financial empowerment to help people fix their credit, because nothing helps more than God, or nothing changes your life more than God or love or a 100-point increase in your credit score. And having banking access helps with that. It helps with making sure that our families have access to banking resources so they're not unbanked and they're not paying exorbitant amounts of fees just to access their money.
And Ashley, when you see St. Louis starting to incorporate some of the things that Mayor Jones was doing, and you look at Chicago, what do you see missing from the Chicago landscape that this then adds to, this vast landscape here?
As Mayor Jones said, Dr. King's message shifted to economic inequality after his time living in Chicago. It was Chicago that inspired this whole movement, the bend in his arc towards the end of his life. And that was primarily because he understood that you could fight legal inequality, but the gray areas of economic inequality, the systemic inequality, is where the real challenges were. And so one of the things we really focused on and launched last week was our Bank King card. This is a debit card, and we have a credit card coming out the end of the year that is going to be invite only to start off with. But at the end of the day, this card is a way for people to sign up and open an account, whether you're on your phone right now, Google or Android, and have a card that every time you use it, and by opening an account, you get to support mothers with children living in government housing. And so what this does is that we support a nationwide network of guaranteed income programs for mothers that live in government housing that allows them to get guaranteed income to move out, to go into better neighborhoods, to get better schools. And there's no better place where that could be so impactful than Chicago. And it's not a government handout. It's not a government program where you're having government give folks guaranteed income. It's that people who are watching this show, decide that you want to bank at a bank who's doing something to fight inequality at a systemic level with the people who we know are the greatest return on investment. And I'll let Mayor Jones even talk about it in more specificity. This is a program she championed in St. Louis that I think also could be amazing in Chicago.
Mayor Jones, please.
Yes. So what Ashley's referring to is a guaranteed basic income program that has been started in over 60 cities across the country. And in St. Louis, we had a pilot program that lasted for 18 months. We had 540 families take advantage of this, and what they received was $500 a month for 18 months, no questions asked. And we also studied these families through the program, but 77% of the families that participated were Black single mother-led households. And when they reported how they used that money, they use it just like you and I would. If we got access to, an extra amount of money for a number of months, they saved it. They used it to open businesses. They used it to work less hours so they could spend more time with their children. They used it for paying down high credit card debt or paying down bills. And some, used it for everyday expenses. So just like every day, people who work a job every day use funds, so do participants in guaranteed basic income programs. And what basic income is, it's an income floor, meaning that you get $500 or $1,000 a month as a floor. That doesn't mean you stop working. You work in addition to that and make sure that your family is financially stable.
And I just want to add to that. The great thing about it is that this doesn't cost the consumer anything. If you sign up for a Bank King card, this program is run by our co-founder, Dr. Bernice A. King, the youngest daughter of Martin and Coretta Scott King. It's not going to cost you any more fees. It's not going to cost you any more money. All we're saying is that we're a bank that believes that if you sign up for this card, you're aligned with that mission. We're going to donate our proceeds to this. So it's not costing you anything. This is just us leading a movement that it starts with someone deciding, you know what, I'm going to bank at a bank that reflects my values, that I know that when I sign up for this account, I'm helping people I may not know, but I know I'm benefiting the community. How great would it be to see the numbers of people that are in need of government assistance go down because we're offering them a way out? And not only that, we're offering them hope. People, as Mayor Jones said, are just a few hopeful dollars away from being able to completely break generational cycles of poverty.
Talk a little bit about the timing of this, the timing of looking at Chicago, the timing of starting or expanding this movement.
Well, we're a year old. I'm sorry. We're a year old. We decided to launch this on Juneteenth as a reflection of the country and a reflection of our values. And we're encouraging people across the country, like Ashley said, to bank their values. And so Ashley and Dr. King started Redemption Bank a year ago, and then a year ago to the date, we launched the King Card in order to give everybody access to bank their values so we can help people get out of poverty.
And let me just to take it a step further, talk about, what opportunity the credit card that's going to be launched. And you can go to bankkingcard.com to sign up to get on the list to get an invite to the credit card. But here's the thing. The credit card is going to be capped at 12%. So this isn't alms. We're being competitive in the marketplace. We're offering people a credit card that's cheaper than anything else in your wallet. We pretty much guarantee. And then on top of that, that card also doesn't cost you any more fees. It's just that the activity that you generate by choosing a bank that's aligned with your values, those profits go to support single mothers. This is what we look at as the future of supporting equity in economic spaces, is that just like the civil rights movement was about boycotts, where you were withholding your resources from certain organizations and certain businesses. This is in the opposite. This is, you're choosing to bank. You're choosing to support businesses that are aligned with your values, and it doesn't cost you anything more. It's just an alignment of values, and the outcomes can be incredibly impactful for so many people.
And if people want more information, what do they need to do?
They can download the app to get an account on their phones right now, or they can go to bankredemption.com, open an account that way, and they can follow us online at Bank Redemption as well.
Thank you so much. And I heard you as you talked about the arc for Dr. King, the moral arc of the universe that always bends towards justice.
Bends towards justice.
Yeah, there's also a replica of that arc outside of the newly opened Obama Presidential Center on Chicago's South Side, which, of course, also opened on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful time.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being here, but especially my fellow pirate. You all have a great day.
Amen to that.
All right.
The real HU.
Take care. 3:29 right now, everybody. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. JD Rudd is here, so we've got to find out more about this really oppressive heat that we are under this week. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:31 right now. JD Rudd is in the house, and we were joking in the break that the weather's kind of on rinse and repeat, but that rinse is like sweat.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm in the doghouse. I mean, it's like, can't you do something about the weather? No, I can't. I can just tell you that it's not going to last too much longer.
Okay.
It'll change eventually. It has to. That's what keeps us weather people employed around here.
Well, we know at some point a change is going to come, but right now, this extreme heat.
Yeah.
The advisories have now expanded.
Yeah, which is no surprise. I mean, because this is going to be prolonged, and this is we see this time and time again with the Weather Service, and I get it. They usually go short fuse, shorter time window, even though we know it's going to last longer, just to make sure. Then they kind of kick things out farther as confidence increases, and that's why I've been saying since Sunday, this is going to last all through this work week. It's going to be in the 90s all week long. Heat index values, triple digits, either around 100, if not 98 to 105, somewhere in that range every single day.
Wow. Well, look at all those folks out there on the beach. I'm assuming they're on vacation, even though we are working hard around here. But
that guy right there called out sick today. I think that one.
You can't tell their boss on them, you know.
Had a car problem, couldn't make it today.
We want them to still be viewers the next day, you know, so you can't tell their bosses what's going on.
Listen,
but we want to make sure that people are safe when they're doing what they're doing, you know, especially if they're going to be out. But, you know, maybe they want to be out at the beach for long periods. Just safe ways of doing that.
Exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I know it sounds great to go, oh, let's just throw the blanket out on the beach and spend all day here. After a while, you do need to cool yourself down. I mean, water is great, you know, hydrating yourself or jumping into a body of water, but do be cautious with that. Lake water temperatures are still on the lower side. You got to watch out for rip currents and things of that nature. And then, I mean, just taking care of yourself because, I mean, look at this. The temperatures right now, by the way, we're at 93 at O'Hare. That would make this the hottest day of 2026.
Oh, wow. Ding, ding, ding,
I don't
ding,
see any
ding.
confetti or balloons. I don't think we're celebrating this. This is not 95 in Gary, 94 at the lakefront. I mean, so it's hot everywhere, but that's just the air temperature. When you factor in those high dew points, which were around 70 to about 73, this is what it feels like to you. Look at that, Morris, 110, 109 at the lakefront. Showing 113 in Gary. We've had some sensor issues in Gary. It may not be 113, but listen, 109, 108 wouldn't shock me at all. The point is, it's triple-digit heat index values for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, if there is an issue with that number there for the 113, there's a 110 on the other side.
That one I think checks out. That one we've not had any sensor problems with there, because the dew points, that's where it's funny. I mean, just a degree or two change in that dew point can shove up your heat index value by 3, 4, 5 degrees in some cases. That goes to show you that that moisture count in the atmosphere is incredibly important to how your body regulates its temperature. That's why I harp on the dew point value all year round. Some folks will look at the relative humidity percentage. That does not tell you the full story. A day like this, when you've got dew point values around 70 to 75, that's a lot of moisture content in the air. And your body, if I can be sciencey and geeky for a second,
Go ahead.
with that sweat that we talked about earlier, the way that cools your body down is that sweat evaporates into the air, and that evapotranspiration is a scientific process that cools your body. When the air around you is already soaked, and your sweat can't evaporate into it because the moisture is already there, it can't suck up anymore. Now your body is sitting with this layer of moisture on it, and you can't cool yourself down. That's when you get hot. That's when you get overheated. That's when you start feeling those, and then what's weird is you stop sweating.
Yeah. I remember I ran a half marathon in September in Virginia, and it was my very first half marathon. And when I was coming up to the finish line, they looked at me. They're like, "She's not sweating. Get her in the tent." And they, started putting water on me and all of those things because I was not sweating, which was an indication something was wrong.
A sign, bingo. When your body gives up on doing it because it says, "Well, this is fruitless. I'm going to stop." Now you run the risk of truly overheating yourself. Some signs of heat exhaustion, so I'm glad they took care of you. And I hope others recognize those signs. We preach about them every single year, but know that. Know it about yourself. Know it about your friends, your family, whoever you're with. If you see someone who's like, "Hey, Bill was glistening quite a bit. Now he's
all
not."
Of a sudden,
that's not good. And you may feel fine. "Oh, I'm okay. I'm a little warm." Okay, no, you're not okay. Your body's about to go through something. So keep yourself cool.
So you said this is the hottest day of the year so far.
So far.
Is it going to be the hottest day of the week?
No.
Wow.
Tomorrow, likely going to be hotter. I'm going to touch on that in a moment. I do want to back up 1 second. We've talked about humans here. I want to talk about pets really quickly.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. We all know about keeping your pets cool when it's hot. Make sure they don't get exposed to the heat, but also just going for a walk, a regular old walk, because when the air temperature is around 90, surfaces like concrete and asphalt are so much hotter. The concrete sidewalk, that surface temperature there can be around 120 degrees. Asphalt, pavement, blacktop, that can be around 140 degrees. So before you take Fido out for a walk, do the back of the hand test. Hold the back of your hand on that surface for 7 seconds. If you can't do that, if it's too hot for you, it's too hot for those pads on their paws. Just something to keep in mind.
You are he's a numbers guy, but the way you throw things out there, I'm like, because I hold you to it, and then I'm like, well, he said on this day, this time that but now that's gonna stick in my head. 7 seconds.
Back of your hand, not the palm of your hand, the back of your hand, because that's more sensitive. Just keep that in mind for the pets out there. I mean, this is more for dogs, but if some folks walk their cat, I get it. Some folks have, bunnies and things of that nature. Anything with a pad on its paw, keep that in mind. Those things have a lot of nerve endings in there. They are very receptive to that heat. So just keep that kind of thing in mind.
Poor things. Okay.
Now, to the point you made a moment ago, where are we going from here? Up. 96 tomorrow and Thursday. So I know. And the heat index value easily around 100 to 105 once again. Sunshine, too. If I can make this soapbox any higher, let's talk about that too, because we've seen a decent amount of sunshine today. Some clouds have been kind of blocking here and there, but tomorrow and Thursday might be full-on sunshine. The sun angle is still very strong this time of year. UV index is high. Sunburn risk. So we go back to that shot of people who are out at the beach, trying to cool down. You might feel a bit cooler next to the lake water, but that sun's going to roast your skin. You can get a sunburn in about 20, 25 minutes time. So this is a plethora of do's and don'ts from your local meteorologist. Drink water, wear your sunscreen, keep yourself cool, don't take your pets on the concrete and asphalt unless you can touch the back of your hand for 7 seconds. It's so many silly things, it seems like, I know, but it's just perspective. We spend so much of the year with our coats and our hoodies on because it's cold, it's windy. We had those weeks in May when it was still well below average, and now all of a sudden we've gone.
Last week we were in jackets.
I know, and we had frost advisories through May, and now we've gone the other way, and so our bodies aren't ready for this.
That's a good point.
You may have lived it for a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen summers, and you're like, I can handle this. Your body, though, especially as time goes on, says, hey, listen, these extremes, I can't do
Quick
this.
change,
It's why people get acclimated to some places. You move here from, say, the desert Southwest, and after a while, you get used to our winters. Conversely, you're used to winters here. You go somewhere else, you go, oh, what is this? I'm used to it getting colder. So it's the same thing in the summer months here. It takes a while for your body to adjust to this, and we've just gone full bore into summer. So give yourself that time to get reacclimated.
Okay, I want to go back to your 7 day
because I know what you want to talk about next.
You already know. Those rain chances are going up, sir.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about Monday and Tuesday next week. I was just going to skip over that whole thing. Yeah, so I don't know why my number's not showing up on Friday. I got to take a look at the system. I should have a 60% chance there on Friday. The odds are going up, and I told this to our folks in the newsroom earlier, and I will preface the same thing here. It's only Tuesday. We have 3 days until Friday, 4 days until Saturday, 4th of July. Things can change.
Things are tracking.
I know. We're trending in the way where it's looking more and more like much of Friday will be wet. A good chunk of Saturday could be wet, and a large chunk of Sunday.
I don't understand how we have fought for these outdoor plans, man.
Well, and it's the 250 celebration. There's so much going on. That's why I'm optimistic that it may look doom and gloom right now, but if we can turn a corner last second, if we can push this off, because again, to be nerdy and geeky, it's my job. There's this big giant ridge, this arc in the atmosphere above us right now, making us hot and dry. The expectation is that by the weekend, that ridge is going to flatten and break down. That'll allow us to see some waves of storms come through. What you could hope for is that ridge stays strong and we stay hot and humid and we push the storms farther north. Maybe it becomes a Wisconsin problem. That's what we could hope for at this point in time. But right now, the indications are it's going to break down just enough to allow a few waves of rain and thunder to come through. I know.
Oh my God. I asked for one of my reservations. Is like, outdoor seating if it is dry. You know?
Yeah, I know.
I'm like,
there's so many
listening
people.
to you, I'm like, caveat: if it rains, we need to be inside.
Somewhere near a window, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I don't want to paint the picture as it's a total washout, doom and gloom, but I do want people, like I said yesterday, if you are planning something outside, have a contingency. Just know what to do in case a shower pops up, because it could be something where, I'm just making numbers up here, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. it's fine. You're thinking, this is great, the cookout's going well. Oh, the clouds are coming, it's going to cool us off. And then, because that's the other thing to keep in mind with this thing, all the moisture in the air from the humidity, when it does rain, buckets could just come down. It might not be just a light sprinkle or a shower. It's just going to dump water over your area in a hurry. So I know there's something always in our atmosphere trying to get us. In the winter, it's the cold and the wind. This time of year, it's the heat and the humidity and the thunderstorms. There's always something.
Always something. But we appreciate you taking the time to walk us through it, so at least we're prepared for whatever it is.
I'm doing my best, and I'll cross my fingers to keep those rain chances away. I'll work some buttons.
We need outdoor plans. Yeah, get this heat out of here and at least give us something that we can work with, you know? Thank you. We appreciate it. We'll see him on the 4 o'clock news, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. I'll let you know about some of the other things that are coming up on the 4 o'clock news before we get to our next discussion. right, welcome back, everyone. It's about 3:45 right now. Let me go over some of the things that you'll see in the 4 o'clock news before we get into our final discussion here for the afternoon, before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock news. Kind of going back into our last talk with JD, we have Joni Lum, who is going to be covering the heat. She's going to be out at one of our local beaches, kind of talking with people out there, but then also going over, again, these what seem like simple pieces of advisement that literally end up being life or death types of tips and pieces of critical information that people need to keep in mind as we go through this heat wave. And as JD was saying, we're not at the end of it, and we haven't experienced the height of it yet either. So Joni Lum is going to be on heat and the heat wave that we're experiencing this week. Casey Cronus is following up on the big decision, the big ruling from the High Court today, the Supreme Court today, on birthright citizenship. It is a major decision that they left for the final day of this particular session, and upholding what essentially has been written into the Constitution for many, many years and decades, but was challenged by the Trump administration with their executive order, President Trump's executive order. And so she's going to get into the details of birthright citizenship and the new Supreme Court ruling today. And then we also have Sammy P., who's going to be out at recess. Man, oh man, has it been a fun time in the midst of the FIFA World Cup, which is on Fox Chicago. So all of the games are going on, the matches are going on. I think I see France and Sweden that are gearing up in about 15 minutes to start their next matchup here. We're now in the the crucial, the crux of it, where you got to win. There's no such thing as a tie at this point in time. So you got to win. The round of 32 is upon us. Really exciting time. Team USA, has been doing pretty well. Can't count us out, although not everyone's counting us fully in, but we're looking good. And don't you just love the moments where we're like, USA, USA, just great stuff that we've been able to all take in together. And Sammy P has been having a blast out at some of these watch parties. And so today he's out at recess, and we're going to be catching up with him again. These are some of the things that are coming up in the 4 and the 5 o'clock newscast. But we have one more conversation for you here for ChicagoLIVE before we get to the 4 o'clock news. And this is one of those discussions that's hard to have, but at the same time super important to have, that we are knowledgeable about the things that are taking place in our communities and the fights to protect especially our young people. So Clifford Law Offices just obtained a record $50 million verdict for a young camper who unfortunately was raped at a Chicago area kids camp. And I have Bradley Cosgrove, an attorney and partner at Clifford Law Offices, who is here with us now to tell us what happened here. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, how are you?
I would be so much better if things like this, in terms of the event that even left this young person to end up needing you all's help, weren't happening. But give us the background here on this story.
Sure. This is a case, for at least our time period right now, being that it's summertime, is something that's highly relevant and important to families throughout Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
This is a case involving a young boy whose parents wanted to sign him up for summer camp, much like many of us all have done with our children throughout the years. And mom and dad actually had a little boy. His name, he was 8 years old, and he wanted to go to this climbing camp, indoor rock climbing, at a company called First Ascend. And they offered a rock climbing camp. It was a week long. There was about 7 sessions where kids could go from 8 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night. And they essentially accepted the kids into their possession and were in charge of the children throughout the day, and were supposed to keep them safe and protected from any type of bad things from happening. Unfortunately for my client, there was another camper who was admitted into the camp, and when he came into camp, the climbing facility was told that the boy was not allowed to go in the bathroom alone with other children. And we think that that request was so unusual and so weird and so unnormal or not normal that what needed to take place is that the camp needed to ask further questions and to try to find out additional background. The evidence in our trial demonstrated that had additional questions and information been looked into, the camp would have determined that the 13-year-old boy who was trying to go to the summer camp had a history of sexually inappropriate conduct with other children. The mom and dad of this 13-year-old boy knew that the kid had some deviancy and were trying to help him, as he was an autistic kid that was a big, strong kid, and they were trying to help him, get him into a structured program where he had firm rules and certain limitations so that they could have him out in public and socialized with normal kids, and they had asked for a special instruction. There was a safety plan in force that required that if a kid was going to go to the bathroom, he needed to be supervised and not be allowed in the bathroom alone. The evidence in our case demonstrated that for about 50 minutes, the First Ascent climbing facility lost supervision of the boy and didn't follow the safety rules, and the boy unfortunately attempted to sexually assault one child in the bathroom. That child escaped, was able to get his sister, but unfortunately a few minutes later the child lured my client into the bathroom and sexually assaulted him during the 50-minute period of time where he was unsupervised, and basically the camp counselors totally lost track of him. He was in the bathroom, the very place they were warned not to allow him to go alone, and he was in the bathroom alone for 50 minutes with attempted sexual assault and ultimately a sexual assault that took place on my client. The case was filed back in 2022, and the case proceeded in Cook County and against First Ascent. First Ascent denied negligence, denied in fact that the rape even took place, all the way up until the day of trial. And when they got to trial, they still denied that they did anything wrong, and it required a jury to find a verdict that First Ascent was negligent, but the jury actually found more than that. The jury found that First Ascent was willful and wanton, that they had a conscious disregard for the safety of the campers. And as a result, the court permitted the jury to award punitive damages as well. So there were $49 million in compensatory damages and $1 million in punitive damages that were awarded late last night.
This is so incredibly heartbreaking on so many levels, and that 50 minutes is all it took for so many life-altering things to happen. I do want to say, because you mentioned the fact that that the camp has denied things all along, we did get a statement from them. It says, "We are heartbroken that this horrific criminal act occurred in one of our gyms, and our hearts go out to the young person who experienced this trauma and his family. While we respectfully disagree with the verdict, nothing about that changes our compassion for the victim or the seriousness of what occurred. Our legal team is exploring post-trial issues and options, including but not limited to the possibility of an appeal of issues from trial and the jury's verdict." What is your response to that? I mean, it seems in them saying occurred, they are saying it happened, but also saying that they disagree with the verdict.
Too little, too late. This case has been pending for 4 years. Where was this compassion years ago when the case was first filed? Where was this compassion and heartfelt statements when they were denying responsibility, when they were denying that the rape even took place? This is post-judgment attempts by First Ascent to save face in the public. If they really felt the way that they claim they do in your statement, where were these statements 4 years ago in a lawsuit and the incident first took place? I think this is lip service to try to save peace. in the public. And candidly, I think it's too little too late.
And just on a final note, I want to circle back to the young person, this 8-year-old child who was involved here. How are they and their family now?
You know, every day is a struggle for a victim of sexual assault, not just in this case, but for all the people that have dealt with it throughout our community and throughout our world. Sexual assault is a violent crime. It's something that is nasty and it lives deep down in people's soul. And it's something when it happens to you and you are the victim and you are the survivor of a sexual assault, it sticks with you for a lifetime. This isn't like an event that goes away. This is something that sticks in your heart and your brain and your soul for the rest of your life. And you never get over it. Can you learn to deal with it? Can you learn to cope with it? Sure. But it never goes away. It's always there, and you always have a fear that something like that could happen again. We believe in the case like this that it never should have happened. When a little child is entrusted to a camp, a summer camp has to follow through on its promise. Its promise is to protect and supervise. And we think those promises were violated, and we think, point blank, the evidence demonstrated that this obligation by First Descent was grossly ignored. And the jury concluded, consistent with our beliefs, that this is a preventable event that never should have happened.
Attorney Cosgrove, thank you for your time today, and thank you for fighting for this child. Thank you. We appreciate it.
It's always great to see you. Thank you very much for having us.
Take care. 3:56, everyone. We'll be back in 2 minutes to close out the show. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us for another day of Chicago Live. We have had quite the busy afternoon, so we certainly appreciate you staying tuned to all of the changes that we've been making throughout the time that we had here from 1 to 4 p.m., and certainly hope that you'll be here with us yet again tomorrow. We're going to turn you over to the 4 o'clock news that will be here online, as well as FIFA World Cup continues into its latest match between France and Sweden.